Hello, welcome to the Purple Sky Thinking for Leaders podcast. My name's Anwen Bottois, I'm your host and I'm the founder of Purple Sky Consulting. This podcast is for you if you're a leader or if you support those in leadership roles in your organisation. This is going to be about skills, ideas, concepts that are going to help you to be your very best as a leader in your leadership role. I hope you find these conversations really valuable and something for you to get some ideas and inspiration from, or just a little bit of support. And if you think I can help you with anything, feel free to get in touch and ask any questions on the back of this episode. In this episode, I'm going to be speaking to Jamie Squires. Jamie is an expert in productivity, so I'm really looking forward to getting to grips with all the ideas and challenges that fit around us being very busy in our lives, in our worlds, and especially in our leadership roles, and how we can take control of some of that to be more productive. Right, let's get that conversation with Jamie started. Hi, Jamie. Welcome to the Purple Sky Thinking for Leaders podcast. It's really lovely to have you with us. Welcome.
Thanks, Anwen. Yeah, great to be here.
Fantastic. So why don't we just jump straight into a little introduction. Tell our listeners, our viewers, who you are, what you do and why you do it.
Okay. Yeah, my name's Jamie Squires and I was about to say productivity expert, but I always feel that's a little bit, I don't know, too grand. But no. I've been helping busy employees of mainly large organisations to win back time, get things done, and feel good in the process of doing it. I've been doing that for about 8 years, but I've been running a training company since the mid-90s.
Wow.
And yeah, I'm not just a teacher of it. I'm a practitioner as well. So, from a very early age, I've always been interested in, how to, what does success mean, and how's the best way of doing things, and how can I do this in the quickest way and with least energy and with the most fun as well.
Oh, lovely. And that's so important, isn't it, in this crazy world, to try and get as much out of what we're doing in as little time as possible, in the most effective ways possible. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation and what our leaders can get out of the conversation with you today. So you may know, if you have been listening a while, that we love a little bit of travel on this podcast. So why don't you share with us a little bit about your favourite travel destinations?
Well, I've been to some nice places over the years. My wife works in a luxury travel company, so I've been quite fortunate to have the odd nice trip here and there. So I was in very nice hotels to see how the other half live. But whilst that's all very lovely and nice and amazing, we've got a static caravan in Anglesey, in Wales.
Oh, lovely!
And we got that when our daughter was quite young, and we thought this would be a really nice place to spend time. And we got a dog as well, and it's a couple of hours from Cheshire here, and so we bit the bullet, and it's my favourite place to go to really switch off, and there's lots of open space, and there's a bit of activity but not too much, and it's where I can decompress and really relax.
Lovely bit of paradise, that, isn't it? Lots of people have shared the UK as their favourite destinations, and I love that you've created your own little heart of paradise there. It's lovely. Cool. So how about you share with us, Jamie, a little bit about your own personal experiences with leadership?
Well, I've not been a leader per se of like a team. Well, I suppose I have. When we had the training company in the 90s, there was kind of 3 of us or so. So yeah, I kind of had to lead that, and quite enjoyed it there. But you learnt a lot about people and motivating people and inspiring them. But even though I quite enjoyed it, I wasn't sure if that was quite me of leading a group of people. I certainly like the idea of self-leadership. I always think more about that these days, of maybe sometimes the missing part within organizations of that. Always think of like Stephen Covey's 7 Habits there, and first things first, and leading yourself. That we need to kind of take that responsibility first for ourselves, and then people will see that and be the exemplar there. So yeah, I like the idea of that, and that links into a lot of the sort of productivity stuff that I do. For example, if leaders are firing off emails at all random times of day and night to their team, and everyone feels that they've got to respond at all those times, and it feels a little chaotic, then everyone else starts doing that as well and think, oh, well, that's how we do things around here. And it all gets a little bit more stressful, a little bit chaotic. So, I always think about, as a leader ourselves, if we have some good, principles and good practices that, it's going to help everyone.
I think you're spot on in terms of the importance of ourselves in leadership roles and how we're showing up and the impact that has on around us. So how about we dive into some questions and start picking your brains a little bit on how we get as productive as possible in that leadership space. So what do you see from the clients that you're working with, or just generally across the board? What's contributing to us feeling so busy all the time?
Oh, well, there's quite a number of things. I mean, the biggest one there, and when we're talking about communication, there is the noise, the volume of noise, and that could be good noise and important and urgent noise. It could be things that are just not important at all. So it's that fast communication that, we started off with text messages there in the late 90s, and then into email, and it was fine for a while, and then we certainly started to get that tipping point 15 years ago with the smartphone, where we leave the notifications on and we want more of that. We don't want to miss a thing there. The we've got FOMO, which we're familiar with, fear of missing out, but there's also the FOMSy, as they call it, not Fonzie as in, remember, the 70s character on TV, the Fonzie, no, FOMSy, which is fear of missing something important. And so, we always feel we need to be connected to the collective there and to the world. So those urgent things, certainly with things like email, that became very much like, everyone was using that, and we're all tied to that. But it wasn't designed to be what's called, synchronous, where, like us now talking backwards and forwards, that we go off and do something else and come back and then reply to the message, whereas everything needs to be now, an instant, and it doesn't have to be.
Always on, isn't it? Always on, always needing to be there.
Yeah, which is good, because for business, speed is important.
Yeah,
but not for everything. You can't do everything at the same time. So we've got to work out, what needs to be quick or what needs to be now, and it's hard to do that with the larger and larger amount of information. Your focus is going to take you away from what you really need to focus on, and you can't then work out which is the priority right now.
It's a really interesting, and I talk a lot to people in leadership roles and throughout my career as well. There was always how are you today? Really busy. I'm sure we all come up against that quite regularly, haven't we? And I'm sure this is an area of focus you have, which is around that piece of busy or productive, and the crossover and the lines that go beyond that. What are you seeing the impacts where we've got people and our managers and our leaders who are busy rather than productive? What are you seeing the impacts of that?
Well, I think time to do the work is the problem. So, or some spend, I'm in meetings, emails, Teams messages. And then out of that come actions to do. Oh, when do I do that? I'll have to do that in the evening. I'll have to do it at the weekends. I'll do it. I'll book in 3 hours on Friday afternoon to do that. Oh, I'm tired now. I'll leave that till next week. And it gets very frustrating, and things don't get done there. And also maybe the wrong things are done, and then the health bit kicks in as well. It's like the overwhelm for a lot of people is it just feels too much, and then that paralysis kicks in of so much choice of what to do, they don't know what to start on. And it can be very stressful.
Yeah, it's definitely, and it permeate, and you mentioned this earlier, how much it can permeate through the team as well. When as a leader, you're in that space of being busy, loads going on, but actually I'm being frantic, I'm being maybe disorganized, and that feeds through to the team, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. If you see that you're the leader there, your manager is disorganized, it can be frustrating, especially for people who like a bit of structure
Yeah.
there and want to know what the rules of the game are here. How do we do things? The culture. How do we do things around here? And it's like, well, just come and we'll work it out together, or just do what I do, or well, there is no rule book, and just try and fit in the best you can,
Yeah.
which might not be helpful for how our brain works.
And different brains as well. So I love the way you describe that, because I'm quite a winging it kind of person. I'm okay with that. I'm like all right with kind of a bit of chaos sometimes, but that isn't always what everybody likes to work with. And I had to work quite hard when I became a leader to kind of learn to do things differently. So I'm sure I wouldn't be described as chaotic by the people that I was working with, but that's something I had to grow and develop. Do you see that in other
Yeah,
leaders?
it is. It's a skill. You've got to
Mm.
work at it.
Yeah.
And do I see it in other leaders?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, some people aren't interested in working at it, and so some people are, but they struggle to do it. So I have a lot of people who've maybe got ADHD come to me, and we do some, as well as the training and the workshops. I do one-to-one productivity coaching, so not like the usual coaching. It's where hey, let's screen share. Let's see what's going on with your systematic approach to things and your system and how you're setting things up and how you manage yourself and manage your day. And let's kind of work at that to see what's going on. And especially when you've got a lot of leaders, a lot of leaders are visionaries, creative people that they don't like a lot of structure there. And so they keep everything in their head. And I see patterns where they love, a lot of leaders love a text message and love WhatsApp, don't like email. There's too much, once they're in there, there's too much going on, and they avoid that. But it's my job is to kind of help them just create some rules of the road a little bit, just, if you think rules of the road of just, we've got some white lines down the middle of a road, nothing too complicated, just to know which side of the road we need to be so we don't crash. But if we had too much going on the road, our mind would get distracted and we might crash. So we've got to get that balance of, especially people who don't like too much structure, just a little bit, just kind of some rails to at least hold on to, so they don't completely get blown off course.
So if we think about that a little bit more, then what do you think is important for leaders to create the right conditions for their team so that we are more in the productive space rather than busy space?
I think when I say the word rules, I don't, I push back against rules because I'm like yourself. I like a bit of chaos there. I lean more towards that, and I like a little bit of structure. I don't like everything too structured.
Yeah,
I like the freedom to be able to be agile and adaptive. But I think maybe some guidelines or good practice there, and having those conversations with the team or the organization. And I help a few organizations and teams around this. The culture, how do we do things around here? The problem is some people go, I love working with email, and other people say, I use Teams, I use WhatsApp, and in communication, or I prefer a meeting, where you've got to maybe say, look, good practices, we have meetings for this type of stuff here. Email for this, maybe actions, Teams for maybe chat around the things, WhatsApp or a text message for an emergency. And so we know that we don't have to be on all the time.
Yeah.
And you can have different scales of urgency for different types of ones. And it doesn't have to be two rules. It's just kind of, hey, this is, best. But if we all kind of move towards this, it means we don't always all have to be on at the same time.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting way of framing it in terms of kind of the different methods almost for dealing with different types of activity, so that we're not going, that's over there, but it's the same thing and now I'm confused. So it's almost creating some ground rules for communication and engagement. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, and there's a reason why do this is really so we create space to do the work
Yeah.
there. A lot of the communication is just talking around the work there, defining it, working it out. We're not doing anything. We're not doing the stuff and really adding the value there.
Yeah.
It's, hey, we need to go and do and execute now. And we never really get to that point. There's always a meeting and a pre-meeting and a pre-meeting with things that we need. Yeah, we need the space. Okay, right. Let's, that phrase, less talk, more action. We need some conversation, but we need to go and do the stuff now.
Yeah.
The problem is that's the hard stuff. That's the thinking stuff there. It's when we start making decisions and having to take action is the hard stuff, and we can resist that.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think leaders should be doing then? How would you describe or talk to them about the type of conversation they could be having with their team?
I think around, certainly as a starting point, is thinking about not keeping everything in your head here. I know the trouble is we get everything out of our head into communication, but just the stuff that, you're going back to basics, your to-do list, your tasks there. We're storing a lot in our heads, or we've got little sticky notes around, or various notebooks, where if we externalize that individually, we don't have to do it collectively and see each other's, what everyone's doing. I mean, we see it with calendars, what everyone's doing, but there's lots of little things and project plans that we need to externalize that and you can use pen and paper. It's fine, but we've got the digital technology there now, and especially a lot of my work is around, most of the organizations I work with are in the Microsoft 365 space. So, how do we use email? Because everyone's been given it. If I ask you, Anwen, with email, who taught you and when to use email effectively?
I don't know, actually. I think
we're just given it the first day, off you go. And you kind of look at maybe someone else, your colleague, or how are you dealing with things? And we need to kind of have an approach around that. And one of my workshops is called Inbox Zero, and that's one of my most popular sessions of just getting control over that.
Yeah.
Of working out, cutting out the noise and working out what the actions are and what the things we need to do. And then there's things like Microsoft To Do, which is great. Not a lot of people know around that. There was Outlook Tasks, which is still around, but really we're on Microsoft To Do now, and you get that on your phone. And for leaders, it's great because you can take that with you because it's on your phone a lot of the time. And use it. And then OneNote, where does that come in? And for your note taking, your meetings, and your calendar, how do we use that effectively? But it's not just the tools. It's our, they're the systems, but it's the systematic approach that we take with them, and it's getting those habits and ingraining those habits of keeping things out of our heads and putting them in some sort of trusted system for ourselves. And that doesn't necessarily mean one app. It could be a variety of them, including pen and paper.
But it's having clarity around what we're using for what as well, isn't it?
And it doesn't have to, there's no perfect system. You don't have it. A lot of people and productivity people will fiddle around with a little efficiency savings, or when I'm doing the Inbox Zero session, they're like, come on, Jamie, so show me some where you can filter stuff out really quickly, which is useful stuff. It's like, we need to start with the bigger wins first why have you got notifications on all the time? Oh, well, that's the default. Doesn't everyone do that? I didn't know there was an option to not have them on.
It's definitely a lot of the way it goes, isn't it? In terms of like these little things that stop the energy being sucked away from you, because actually it's things like notifications. You might be in the middle of something in that deep thought, and then the notification pops up, and you have destroyed that productivity vibe you were in. Yeah,
exactly. And some people say, oh yeah, don't put your emails on until lunchtime, and do some deep work and thinking in the morning. It doesn't have to be like that. In large organizations, most people haven't got like a whole morning where they'd be sitting and thinking all morning there. It might just be for half an hour, a couple of times a week there, just to do that thinking work.
Creating
and spaces
space
where we just shut down the noise, or we go to a different space, coffee area or a quiet area, or from home, where we can just have some, where we need to do maybe knock out the big actions or get things moving.
Creating that space is so important, isn't it? Of like that dedicated time when you need it, but also recognizing that there is still a need to kind of just keep going with stuff sometimes as well.
Yeah, I think we don't want to. Yeah, we don't want to let people down. We don't want to let our boss down. We don't,
And that,
or if we're
yeah.
boss, we don't want to let our team down. We don't want to let our colleagues down if we're not sort of plugged into the matrix all the time. But actually, one of the biggest things, and for leaders as well, is to we don't have to be on all the time and available to everyone all of the time.
Yeah.
The secret is getting some balance, and actually is disappearing for a while and actually letting people get on with things, because then they feel, oh, I'm not sure what the answer is. I'll go and ask the leader. And then, oh, you feel that you're needed all of the time. Whereas actually, if you kind of disappear or you're not available all the time, people usually work things out themselves, or they'll go and find someone else there to do it. And you need to give people that space to do that, because then they grow.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be then that micromanager.
A lot happens in the silence. A hell of a lot happens in the silence. And whether that's personal growth for the individual or you just having the headspace to not have to be the person answering the question all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's really valuable.
Yeah, exactly. Then disappearing. And then if you know that you're not instant and they're available all the time, say on your emails, that they'll, the problem is then if you completely disappear from and not in it, then they think, oh, they're not replying to any emails here. Yeah. That's when people might say, oh, I'll book a meeting with them. And they'll book a meeting, or maybe their executive assistant might book in that meeting. And it's like their diary is full of meetings that didn't need to be meetings. Yeah. They could have been that email if they'd managed to keep on top of it or deal with it.
This is a topic that comes up a lot with my leadership clients, in terms of either individuals who need a lot of their time, are requiring a lot of them, and also how that then impacts on their own ability to be productive as a leader. If they're having to spend more time with one person, then maybe they're not giving time to somebody who's happily getting on with things, but actually deserves that leader's time from a development perspective or something like that. And I don't know what your thoughts are around this, but it was, I had to put quite clear boundaries in place for certain things. So, as well as we would know what systems we were using for certain pieces of communication and interaction, there were certain things when the team know they would have access to me at X point, or my direct reports knew that we would have these interaction points. And I would feel perfectly okay with then going, off grid whenever I needed to, because also we were in a job that wasn't, life or death in any way. And actually having a bit of perspective around some of that is really important in terms of managing that productivity vibe. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you got me thinking around, that we've had around for a while with, agile ways of working and Scrum, a daily stand-up. It certainly came from the software side of where you'd have that 10-15 minutes in the morning where you'd all come together and what did you do yesterday, what are you doing today, what do you need some help with, and everyone can help each other, and the leader at least checks in of where people are at, and they can help and support, and that everyone knows they can come with their questions there for that 15 minutes, and you're going to be doing it the day after, so you can store all that things, unless it's urgent things during the day. I think that's all right, because I can ask again the next day. So you can press it into a nice short meeting there, where when it's complex stuff, rather than batting emails backwards and forwards, is it where something quite complex that you could talk through in 2 or 3 minutes. I always say to people when they're thinking about planning your day is, what do you open first? As a leader, what do you look at first? And it's straight into emails, maybe before you've even got out of bed, you're looking on the phone. Whereas, there might be like urgent, you're looking, maybe scanning for urgent things there, fires to put out. But really it's a calendar really first, those commitments that you've made for other people and to yourself. It's like, what does the landscape actually look about of agreements that you've made for the day first? And then go into look at, okay, what does everything look like? How does that look with all this new stuff that's come in, and also my to-do list as well of all the other stuff I've got to do and when I'm going to do that.
Creates focus, doesn't it? So have an idea of what is it that I actually need to deliver on today or this week, and that really helps to then frame the decisions you make.
Exactly. And if you've got all that in your head, it's very difficult. That's why we have the calendar, and we're always so used to using, say, our Outlook calendars there for things and for meetings with other people. But there's so much more than that. that, then we want to keep everything else and all the little stuff and all the bits in our head and all the stuff, but not just work things, personal stuff as well, that we keep all in there, and we don't, and we can externalize all of that and quieten things down in the head. And then we can see all that. Once you can see it there digitally or pen and paper, it helps you to make better. Your head's freer to then be, this is the right thing to do. Well, that's the right thing, because you've got everything out there and you can make better decisions, better choices.
And that's what I love about that, is that it is about making better decisions and helping the team make those decisions as well, because there is a bit of clarity around what the priorities are, what the focus work is, how we interact, how we're connecting together. It helps people make their own decisions about, is this important right now?
Yeah, and that's it. If everything's externalized, it means if they're not sure, if they've got so a lot on their plate, they can either in the room or screen share with the leader to say, this is what I've got on. You want me to do this now. What should I drop here? Because, I think there's too much, I'm not going to give my best to all of these things. Whereas if you then turn to the leader and say, I'm stressed out, there's too much on, there's no clear indications. Where if you've got a map there almost of calendar and actions to do, you can then make those decisions together.
Yeah, focusing on
for
that.
The leader.
Oh, that's lovely. Any other tips you think you'd like to share with our leaders around being as productive as they can be for them and their team?
Now, it's interesting you say the word tips, because I get that a lot. People go, Jamie, if you've got a tip, my inbox is out of control, or my to-do, so I want to be more organized. Give me some tips. If it was that easy, I'd just be, on YouTube, just throwing these little bits out, which I do kind of on LinkedIn and Insta, these little kind of ideas. But it's about building the habits up there. And so I guess that the overall tip is as David Allen, the productivity expert with his Getting Things Done GTD, said, your head is a terrible office. Don't use it as one. The working memory, we hold about 4 things in there. After that, it gets a bit leaky and things fall out. Is externalize those things. The problem is when you see them, you feel that you're committed to do them, but you can decide, which stuff you kind of say, that's later, or maybe next month, look at that stuff. So getting stuff out of your head, but also looking at where you can quieten down the noise a bit. And you can do safe stuff to start with if you don't want to start with your work things. Is personal things like WhatsApp groups. A lot of us are members with friends and groups of various things.
Mute.
And we're getting ping, ping, ping. And some of us still have all of that stuff on. Maybe we just quieten those down or we turn them off because we know it's not stuff we need to do maybe that day or that hour. Yeah. And then just maybe at the end of the week, we kind of go through all those groups and have a catch up there, maybe a Friday afternoon when we're a bit tired, and make sure nothing urgent or cool we've missed there. We can just go through all of those and feel like, I'm on top of stuff now.
Love it. That's fantastic. I love those tips. And I think the importance of having clarity and getting out of your head is really important. I think for me, it helps me stay accountable as well. So, because I can be, not selling myself well today as being Mrs. Chaos and also a magpie. But when there's something new and shiny in front of me, I can get quite excited and want to go and play with that. But the reality is it might not be something that's a priority for me, really. And by having my to-do list out and having my priority focus areas, it really does help to hold me accountable when it's there. Whereas if it was all in my head, I would definitely be choosing to do the magpie activity at that point.
Yes, yeah, and then we'll stick our head in the sand because we know it's at the back of our head, but we thought, no, let's not bring it out into reality here. No. That can be stressful.
That's lovely. Jamie, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. There's been loads of really interesting insight and information that you shared with us there, and lots to get people thinking about how they're handling their day, their week and their team, and making sure that we're in that productive space rather than busy space. So thank you so much. Where can people find you?
You can, there's jamiesquires.co.uk, my website, where you'll find around the masterclasses and the workshops and the one-to-one.
Brilliant.
Coaching, and you can find me on LinkedIn as well there. I have my system of, a couple of posts a week there. One's usually a video of me with a little idea. And it's also on Instagram as well. You'll find me under Jamie Squires or Productive Dynamo.
And we'll put all those links in the show notes as well, and in the YouTube notes. So feel free to go and have a look there and access that. Jamie, thank you so much.
Thank you, Anwen. It's been a pleasure.
Bye-bye. A big thank you from me to Jamie for joining this episode. It was so useful to hear those ideas and thoughts and tips of where you can be focusing as a leader to make sure you and your team are as productive as you can be. My name's Anwen Bottois. I'm your host of this podcast, the Purple Sky Thinking for Leaders podcast. My company is Purple Sky Consulting, and we support organisations with their succession planning and talent development. If there's anything you think I can help you with, please do get in touch. You'll find all of my contact details below. You'll also find all of the details to reach Jamie and any of our LinkedIn or website details too. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.